Hello and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for the English medium civil services aspirants. At 11 o'clock today, Unacademy conducted India's biggest scholarship test called Unacademy's Civil Services Championship test. Some of you may have been unable to attempt this test because a massive number of students tried to attempt this test. If you were also unable to attempt this test, please do not worry, we have got you covered. You can attempt this test at 5 o'clock in the evening as well. Obviously, the questions would be different, not the same. And today in this session, we will discuss all the 50 questions that appeared in this test which was conducted at 11 o'clock. Why? Because we want you to get the feeling of the kind of questions, the standard of questions asked in the test conducted at 11 o'clock. So you can prepare accordingly, and same difficulty level standard of questions would be asked when we will conduct this test again at 5 o'clock in the evening. And our endeavor is that all of you should be in a position to win massive scholarships from the pool of rupees 50 crores. Some of you will stand a chance to watch the Border Gavaskar Trophy cricket match between India and Australia in Australia. Some of you would be eligible to get an all expenses paid trip at a 5-star hotel. There are other prizes on offer, MacBooks, smartphones, tablets, and some of you would also be eligible to get 90% discount on our subscription fee. But please listen to me carefully. This is a message that I want to give specifically to the students from my previous organization. You would know that now the recordings of the classes is also not opening, unfortunately, at our previous institute. And some of you would also be struggling. I want to urge all of you, please attempt this test and you can be in a position to get a 90% discount on our subscription fee. That's the best that can happen for a student. So please attempt this test. If you haven't attempted at 11 o'clock, please attempt this test at 5 o'clock. What sort of questions can be asked? The standard of questions. You can get the feeling of these questions when we will discuss all these 50 questions that appeared in the 11 a.m. test. We'll start with polity and then gradually we will look at questions asked from the different sections. Let's start with the questions asked from Indian polity. Let's look at question number 1. It was question number 10 in the test, but question number 1 for polity. What is the maximum allowed number of seats in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha respectively as per the Constitution of India? And now you should get a sense that this was an easy question because our endeavor is all of you should win big by attempting this scholarship test. You would know that prior to 2020, the maximum strength of Lok Sabha was 552 and the maximum strength of Rajya Sabha was 250. But then because of the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act, the reservation for 2 Anglo-Indians in Lok Sabha was not carried on further. That means now this number has reduced to 550. So 550 for Lok Sabha and 250 for Rajya Sabha. A is the right answer. Let's look at another question. Consider the following statements regarding the National Commission for Scheduled Castes. And you would know that this body is a constitutional body under Article 338 of the Constitution. What is the purpose of this body? This body provides safeguards against exploitation and promotes the social, educational, economic and cultural interests of scheduled castes as well as Anglo-Indian communities. Because Anglo-Indian communities, their safeguard was also given to this constitutional body called National Commission for Scheduled Castes. In fact, it was National Commission for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes. But later on, Constitution was amended to create 2 different constitutional bodies. National Commission for the Scheduled Castes and National Commission for the Scheduled Tribes. So statement number 1 is correct. This body has the power to include or exclude any caste from the list of scheduled caste in any state or the union territory. No, this is not correct. Why? And this is something that you would have been able to understand and mark correctly if you were following what is happening in Manipur, for example. Who has the power to add or remove from the list of scheduled castes, or for that matter, scheduled tribes as well? For that, Parliament has the power to enact a law, pass a bill, and basis that, the President has the power to notify. There is an order called Scheduled Castes Order, Constitution of the Scheduled Caste Order of 1950. This order is to be amended by the President based on the bill passed by the Parliament. So long story short, who has the power to add a caste in the list of the scheduled caste or remove a caste? That power is given to the President, who does this after a bill has been enacted by the Indian Parliament. It submits reports to the President on the status of the safeguards for the scheduled caste. The statement is correct because an annual report is submitted by this body to the President of India. So 1 and 3, B is the right answer. Let's look at another question. Consider the following statements regarding the Jasila Shaji versus Union of India case 2024. Current affairs in the news, and most of you would have been able to answer this question correctly. Statement number 1, the Supreme Court ruled that detaining authorities must provide detained persons with the grounds of detention and related documents without delay. And this is something that was told by the court also in the case where the founder editor of NewsClick online portal was also arrested. You have to provide a document to this detained person in written mentioning the grounds on which this person was arrested or is about to be arrested, so that this person can get legal defense for himself. So this statement is correct. Statement number 2, Article 22 of the Constitution requires that detained persons be informed of the detention grounds and allowed to make representation against the detention. Article 22 comes into picture after an individual has been arrested. So Article 22 talks about protection from arrests and detention in certain cases. That does not mean that you have right against arrest as a fundamental right. No. But this fundamental right comes into the picture after you have been arrested. And after you have been arrested, you should be informed of the grounds on which you are being arrested. You should also be informed of the grounds on which you are being arrested so that you can set up a legal defense, and within 24 hours you have to be produced before the nearest magistrate, so that then the magistrate can decide whether you should be sent to a judicial custody or a police custody, or you should be released on bail. So both these statements are correct, and statement 2 explains statement 1, because this judgment of the court is keeping in mind the constitutional protection, the fundamental right under Article 22 of the Constitution. Let's look at another question. Which of the following were the members of the drafting committee appointed by the Constituent Assembly? How many members were part of the drafting committee? 7 prominent members. Who was the constitutional advisor of the drafting committee? Sir B.N. Rao. Dr. Ambedkar was a member of the drafting committee. In fact, the chairman of the drafting committee. Mr. K.M. Munshi also. Mr. Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer as well. But Sardar Patel and Jawaharlal Nehru, they were not the members of the drafting committee. They were the members of some other committees, for example, Union Constitution Committee, Fundamental Rights Committee, but not the drafting committee. So 1, 3, 4, A becomes the right answer. Simple question. I don't think anyone would have committed any mistake in answering this question. Consider the following information. On one side, we have the term. On the other side, we have the description. And what is the question asking you? In how many of the above rows is the given information correctly matched? What is initiative? When people take the initiative and propose to the government that this is the kind of law that you need to bring, that's what we call initiative. So is initiative a procedure to refer proposed legislation to the electorate? No. It is a method allowing people to propose a bill for enactment. So initiative is this. Second is recall. Once the half of the term is over, you can recall an elected individual. A method allowing voters to remove a representative before the term expiry, before the tenure is over. That's recall. Referendum. It is basically a procedure to refer proposed legislation to the electorate for voting. So initiative and referendum are different in a sense. Initiative comes from the voters. They initiate a proposal and give it to the government that you have to enact this law. Referendum is when the government refers any matter to the public, asking the views of the public on that matter, asking the people to vote on that particular matter. That is referendum. A referendum is slightly similar to plebiscite, but with one massive major difference. Plebiscite is only on one issue, where the matter is sent by the government to the people for voting, but on right to self-determination. On a political matter. This is what we call plebiscite. So only one is correctly matched. A is the right answer. With reference to the delimitation process in India, consider the following statements. The Delimitation Commission is established under Article 329 of the Constitution. Correct or incorrect? Incorrect. Why? Article 329 bars the interference of courts in electoral matters. Delimitation Commission is set up primarily under Article 82 of the Constitution, not under Article 329. Delimitation in India has been conducted only 4 times since independence. Correct? B, 2 only is the right answer. What is delimitation? The process of redrawing the electoral boundaries or the constituencies in India. Constitution says it should be done after the conduction of every census. That's how after 1951 census, delimitation was conducted, number 1. After the census of 1961, delimitation was conducted. After the census of 1971, delimitation was conducted, but then there was a ban on delimitation, a moratorium on delimitation. Why? Because the southern states protested that you are basically disincentivizing the good performing southern states because they have been in a position to effectively implement the family planning programs and control the population. But the northern states have miserably failed to control the population. So if you are conducting delimitation after every census, because when there is a rise in the population, corresponding to that rise, there will be increase in the number of seats in the Lok Sabha as well, which means the southern states will lose their representation as compared to the northern states. But then in 2002, delimitation was conducted after the census of 2001. But it did not lead to the increase in the number of seats. It was only internal reorganization, something that we have discussed multiple times in the classes. Long story short, delimitation has been conducted only 4 times since independence. This is correct. And in fact, this was the question asked in one of the prelims examination as well this year. So you should have been in a position to answer this question correctly. Now, another question. Which of the following constitutional amendment acts added right to education as a fundamental right? See the kinds of questions that have been asked. And similarly, moderate, easy questions would be asked at 5 o'clock as well. So I beseech you, please take this opportunity, attempt this test so that you're able to win big scholarships. Article 21, capital A, which talks about right to free and compulsory primary education as a fundamental right for all the kids in the age group of 6 to 14 years. This was not originally part of the Constitution. In fact, it was one of the directive principles of the state policy, but it was made into a fundamental right when the Constitution was amended. And which was that constitutional amendment? 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. And it is because of this constitutional amendment that right to education became the fundamental right. 74th Amendment deals with municipalities, or for better word would be for urban local bodies. 91st Amendment something that we discussed yesterday, where that 1/3 split under anti-defection law, where if 1/3 of the members split from the political party, they should not be disqualified. This 1/3 split was removed from the 10th schedule of the Constitution, and that was done by the 91st Amendment. In fact, because of 91st Amendment, we also fixed the composition of the Council of Ministers. Council of Ministers, including the Prime Minister, shall not exceed more than 15% of the Lok Sabha. 102nd Constitutional Amendment Act, it was the amendment because of which National Commission for the Backward Classes was given a constitutional status. So what is the right answer? B, 86th Constitutional Amendment Act. These were the questions asked from Indian polity in today's Unacademy Civil Services Championship Scholarship Test. Now, I will hand over the days to Abhishek Mishra sir. He will discuss the questions asked from history. And again, before I leave, please attempt the test at 5 o'clock. And this is a particular significant personal request to the students from my previous institute. This is one way in which we can help you. Thank you for staying with me. Over to Abhishek sir, who will be joining in a minute, and he will discuss all the questions asked from history. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like this video.
So we will now discuss the history questions of UCSC. 7 questions were there, and out of the 7, only one was a little bit of a, you can say, a bouncer. Other questions were quite straightforward, quite manageable out of ancient medieval art and culture. And we had one question from modern India also. Let's discuss the first question, fairly easy, which is, who was the ruler under whom Megasthenes served as the Greek ambassador to the Mauryan Empire? If you have any idea about the basic, you can say Megasthenes, Strato, Justin, Arrian, Pliny, you would know that it is Chandragupta Maurya. It is Chandragupta Maurya's empire, which basically Megasthenes came, visited and wrote his Indica, and that text itself is not available to us. However, we have multiple references in other texts telling us the socio-economic milieu of the Mauryan Empire. Fairly easy question, one of the easiest in this set. Moving to question number 24. Statement-based question, a new pattern which has emerged. Salt emerged as a powerful symbol of resistance during India's struggle for independence. The government's control over salt production trade restricted local communities from making salt for their own use. Now we have to ascertain if the second statement explains the first statement, and are both of them correct, incorrect, or if it doesn't. So the second statement says that the government had a monopoly over salt production, and though they were importing Spanish and Italian salt, they were not allowing salt production by local communities, Indians in India. It was a monopoly of a European enterprise. The first statement now says salt emerged as a powerful symbol of resistance. So this statement is also correct. This is correct because of CDM. And yes, the second statement explains the first statement because it was a governmental monopoly. Therefore, if you challenge it, it is a form of resistance. So second statement is explaining the first one. The answer here becomes A. This is a very good question, very realistic and representative of the pattern. If you are able to understand that cause-effect relationship, you will be easily able to answer these type of questions. This is the first one, which is quite factual, and if you don't know the reference, you will never be able to answer this question, which is, which of the following statements about Congress's rule in the provinces during the freedom struggle is correct. Now, this basically refers to the 1935-36 elections, the 28 months rule of the Congress before, after the Ramgarh session, they are going to resign. So, basically 1936-37, what did the Congress premiers or CMs, if you want to call them, did, or how did the Congress respond to the issues in India? A, we have to choose which is the correct option. The Congress ministries did not completely abolish the zamindari system, but made efforts to introduce agrarian reform. Now, this is incorrect because the Congress ministries did not have that much power because of the way the power was distributed within the provincial legislative assembly and with the governor. This was not possible for them. They tried, but there was no real agrarian reform they were able to bring in because that was one of the most important sources of revenue for the British. The Pirpur Committee documented grievances against the Congress ministries, not reforms. Now, to be very clear, this is where it becomes interesting. The Pirpur Committee is 1938 and is actually not by the Congress or even the British. It is by the Muslim League. So that itself makes it incorrect. Yes, it was a committee unilaterally created by Muslim League to argue that what are the grievances against, what are they doing vis-a-vis communalism in India, and therefore this was a drama which the Muslim League did to deface the Congress ministries after performing dismally in this election. Only 3% vote share of the Muslim League amongst Muslim itself. The ministries struggled to effectively manage communal rights during their tenure. The opposite is true. This is incorrect because they did not struggle, but actually communalism was managed and the ministries did very good work in managing the communal rights and communalism at this point of time vis-a-vis the ministries. So this is basically the opposite is true, so it becomes an incorrect. They promoted the resolution of industrial disputes by encouraging compulsory arbitration to reduce strikes. This is totally correct, that Congress socialist influence where strikes, the quantum was reduced via the concept of arbitration. Very standard thing which you will find in any standard book, which is the achievements of the Congress ministries. Factual question, if you've left it, good enough. If you've attempted it, there are logical ways. Except for the Pirpur Committee, this question is manageable, moderately difficult. Moving on to question number 26, very easy question. Which of the following rulers did not actively support the revolt of 1857? Holkars of Indore, Maharaja of Kashmir, Nizam of Hyderabad. Actually, what is common to all of them is these were the breakwaters to the 1857 revolt. From Gwalior to Kanpur to Lucknow to Delhi to Bareilly, these theaters were actually hindered by the you can say, active participation of the Holkars, who are now, as it is, part of the larger subsidiary alliance complex of the British. Maharaja of Kashmir did not respond. Nizam was one of the most, you can say, loyal partners of the British at this point of time. So therefore, all three did not actively support the revolt of 1857. Again, if you know the map, if you know the theaters, you will automatically understand that we never talk about Indore, Kashmir or Hyderabad in the larger context of things. Thereafter, a very simple question out of advent of Europeans. You can see the questions are for history are quite manageable, not very difficult. In the context of European expansion in India or advent of Europeans, where did the Dutch establish their first trading factory? And the simple straightforward answer is 1605, Mauchlypatnam. If it would have been English, it would have been Surat, and because it is Dutch, it is Mauchlypatnam. If it was the Portuguese, then this question would have become difficult because first permanent or first temporary matters. First temporary would be Calicut, first permanent would be Cochin. So again, fairly straightforward question, giveaway question that way. This is the second question, which is a little bit obscure, which is consider the following statements regarding the pledge movement initiated during the Indian freedom struggle. The movement focused on promoting widow remarriage. It was initiated by the Indian Social Conference. Here you can learn something. This movement was not about widow remarriage. It was a pledge against child marriage. It was a pledge against child marriage. And yes, it was initiated by the Indian Social Conference. two very important personalities related to it. One is M.G. Ranade and the second one is Raghunath Rao. Nothing to do with the Raghunath Rao of the Marathas, but a very important towering figure of the Indian freedom struggle called Raghunath Rao. So this is again something where you can learn. If you have not given the test, please do learn about this, the pledge movement. If you read this, multiple giveaways are there. Fairly easy question. This 19th century reformer from Maharashtra fought against caste discrimination and worked to promote women's education along with his wife. He founded the Satyashodak Samaj to secure social equality for the lower castes and openly criticized child marriage while supporting widow remarriage. His book, Gulamgiri, compared the struggles of the Dalits with the experience of the African Americans under slavery. In 1888, he was honored with the title of Mahatma by V.K. Vandekar. If you know, very simply, either Gulamgiri you should know, either the reference to Savitribai Phule, either the fact that he is from Maharashtra, or the fact that he is in a way writing Gulamgiri with the context of Thomas Paine's understanding of right of man. It is Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. Very simple, straightforward question, fairly easy in that sense. So with this, I'll hand it over to Shyam sir, who will discuss questions of economics. Out of the 7 questions, if you were able to do 5 to 6, it was fairly easy. I encourage you all to give the 5 p.m. test. If you have still not registered for the UCSC test, this is the right time. Thank you and see you in another session. Take care.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to all of you for paper analysis discussion of Unacademy Civil Services Championship. Let me discuss the questions which have appeared from economy as well as government schemes. Let me start the discussion now. Serial number question, that is 11. The term greenium, sometimes mentioned in the news, is associated with what? Now, the concept of a greenium is very simple. Listen to me carefully now. In case of India, just like any other market or multiple markets around the world, we are issuing bonds by the name of green bonds. And what is the idea of a green bond? Essentially, the green bonds are those debt instruments where the issuer issues, borrows money and uses the money only for those projects which can be classified as green projects or environment friendly projects. So that concept is called as a green bond. Now, whenever you talk about green bond, essentially 2 very important points. One, the borrower of a green bond or the issuer who is a borrower here has to utilize money for very specific number of projects. Like let's say a bank which has borrowed money in the form of a deposit, they can't use it for any other purpose except let's say for green infrastructure projects. So the usage here is very limited. And the second point here is, if you're going to promote green infrastructure projects, you will have to ensure that the loans or the debt is available at lower rate of interest. And that is a precise reason, in case of green bonds, there is a feature associated with these bonds called as a greenium. This is a combination of two terms, green plus premium. What is the meaning of a greenium? Let's say hypothetically, a normal bond is issued at 100 rupees and a coupon rate of 6% is given on this particular bond, which means for every 100 rupee, the issuer of the bond, who is a borrower here, will have to pay 6% interest or coupon rate, which translates to 6 rupees. But in case of green bonds, generally what happens is, these bonds are issued at a premium. These bonds are issued at a premium. That is essentially, rather than 100 rupees, let's say these are issued at 102, 103 rupees, which effectively will reduce the amount of returns in percentage, that is the yield rate that the bonds will generate. So again, I'll repeat this concept here. Greenium essentially is a combination of two terms, green plus premium, wherein the green bonds offer lesser yield rate, lesser returns rate compared to a normal bond. Please look at the four options. Dividend given on the shares of renewable energy companies? No. Difference between the interest on the green bonds versus normal bonds? Yes. Profit generated by the mutual funds that invest in green companies? Absolutely no. Insurance premium charged? No. So the right option for question number 11 is the option B. Question number 12. According to the economic survey published 2024, which among the following is the biggest export by India? Now, whenever the documents are published, let's say the budget documents as well as the economic survey documents, every year the government will provide you a lot of data regarding, let's say, exports. How many exports in terms of value, right? Or which kind of exports, right? Which kind of imports to which countries, from which countries, etc., etc. All of this factual information is given in the official document, that is budget as well as economic survey. Now, according to the latest data which has been published, that is July 23rd, government announced budget. The union budget for the financial year 25 was announced. Before that, government also came out with a document, that is economic survey. According to this economic survey, if you look at the terms, or let's say the value of exports that have taken place from India, the majority of the exports, or let's say the largest exports, are in the form of a consumer goods. And if you're interested in terms of descending order, I repeat, in terms of descending order, the largest is consumer goods, followed by intermediary goods, followed by capital, followed by raw material. So basically in the descending order, it is A, B, C and D. But right now, the right option for the question number 12 will be option A. These are consumer goods. Let me go to question number 13 now. Consider the following statements. Remittances help narrow down the current account deficit. Now 2 points. Point number 1, remittance. What is the meaning of a remittance here? Essentially, please understand, there is an idea called as a transfer payment. There is something called as a transfer payment. What do you mean by transfer payment? It basically means money is transferred, money is paid, but in return, no goods or services are taken. For example, today if you go to market, you purchase a kg of onion, you will have to pay 90 rupees or 80 rupees for that, or 100 rupees depending upon the city or the place where you are residing in. On the other hand, the government will transfer certain subsidies, but in return, government doesn't take goods or services. You, let's say, will shift to USA for a period of 6 months. In basically, because of your company's work, now monthly basis you will send certain amount of money to take care of your parents, spouse, etc. These are also transfer payments. Essentially, these are one-sided transfers. In return, no goods or services are provided. Now, if the remittances keep on increasing, and please remember, in the context of India, remittances are very important. Reason being, India is the largest inward remitter. I repeat, India is the recipient of the largest amount of inward remittances in the world. followed by India is China. So remittances will help narrow down the current account deficit. Yes, current account deficit basically is excess outflow of dollars compared to inflow of dollars under the current account. So if you receive more and more dollars in the form of remittances, the deficit, that is the difference between outflow of dollar and inflow of dollar, will become narrow. So remittances will help narrow down the CAD. Yes. Remittance is considered to be a more stable source of foreign currency inflow compared to foreign investments. It is also absolutely true. Reason being, whenever you talk about foreign capital or foreign investment for that matter, a lot of this depends on whether the economy is stable or there is volatility in the market. For example, you take the countries such as Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, you will see that generally the foreign investors, not only just the foreign portfolio investors, even the investors under the FDI will be worried. They would not be interested in investing in a country where there is no stability or there is very high uncertainty or volatility. On the other side, remittances, if there is a depreciation of rupee, you might expect a lot of remittances to come into India. If, let's say, there is a better performance in the Middle East, you can expect a lot of remittances to come into India. But more importantly, remittances are much more stable in terms of inflows. Okay, so second statement is true. Remittance usually increases when there is increased global oil prices. This statement is also correct. Reason being, lot of Indians shift and basically for search of work, or let's say in search of work, they will shift to Middle Eastern countries and generate income, earn money working in these Middle Eastern countries. For example, Gulf Cooperation Council. Now, these economies generate lot of their income because of export of crude oil. And if these countries are doing well, it essentially means they are generating income because of their exports. And because they are generating better revenues, they will hire more labor. And Indians who are working in these Gulf countries, they will earn more income and remittances to India will start increasing. Right? So third statement is absolutely true. Fourth one, remittance usually decreases when there is a weakening of Indian rupee. I've told you this already. With rupee weakening against the dollar, remittances generally increase. Reason being, today if you say, let's say $1 is equal to 50 rupees and weakening essentially means $1 becoming is equal to 60 rupees. If you send $1 into India, you will get more in terms of rupees. Your amount of rupees that you receive in India will be higher. So remittances generally increase with weakening of rupee, not decrease. So 1, 2, 3 are correct. Right option for this question number 13 will be option C. Question number 14. In 2024, India moved 100 metric tons of gold from which country? In this case, please understand, Reserve Bank of India earlier had kept lot of gold in terms of quantity for safe storage in UK. And in recent times, this particular gold has been brought into India. And last week also, Reserve Bank of India's report stated that they have brought in lot of gold into India, as a result of which the gold storage in India has increased. What is the logic behind this? RBI simply says they are worried about Western countries. Western countries might impose certain sanctions. And if Western countries impose sanctions, these assets which are held outside India will get stuck up there itself. In addition to this, RBI also says that the storage capacity in India has increased, and that's the reason they are bringing more and more gold into India. So the right option for this is essentially the option B or statement B. From the UK, due to concerns over Western powers freezing the assets during geopolitical tensions. Question number 50 now. Consider the following statements about the Project Nexus launched in 2024. Project Nexus is essentially an initiative that has been launched by Bank of International Settlement, BIS, which is basically present in Switzerland. India is a member of that, by the way. That is, RBI is a member of it. And the objective of Project Nexus is that We want to ensure basically the cross-border transfers will be done in a much better way, much efficient way. So look at the options now. Its objective is global coordination against cryptocurrencies related fraud? No. Financial Action Task Force is the nodal organization? No. BIS, Bank of International Settlement, is the nodal organization. So both the statements are wrong. Right option is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Question number 16. After investing in an IPO, IPO stands for initial public offering. If the investor is in profit, he will sell shares immediately in the secondary market. But if he is in loss, then he will continue to hold them for a long time, even if it results in more losses. This behavior is known as, this is called as a disposition effect. Generally, in case of market, we need to buy the assets when the prices are lesser and sell the assets when the prices are higher. But in case of disposition effect, what generally is seen is, investor will hold on to the assets whose value is continuously decreasing. Whose value is continuously decreasing, which means assets are losing value. There is an erosion of the value and the investor will keep on holding these assets. This is called as a disposition effect. So question number 16, right option is C. Question number 17, the last question by the way. Why are ships facing trouble traveling through the Panama Canal in 2024? Now, Panama Canal essentially is a water body. And this water body, which is used for many of the ships for transportation purposes, receives water from many of the other sources nearby. And the water is stored, and the stored water, because the height is higher now, there is a higher water level. The ships, even if they are heavier, larger ships can easily travel, basically use it for transportation. In recent times, it has been seen that the water level in Panama Canal has dropped down. And because of this, the traveling, or let's say the transportation through the vessels or by the vessels has been affected. There's a shortage of water affecting canals operation. Yes. Ships are experiencing attacks by the militants in the region. This is not the case of Panama Canal. It has been seen in the Red Sea. So question number 17, right option is option A, 1 only. So these are the various questions which have been asked from the economics part as well as the government schemes. Now I'll hand over the discussion to Mukesh sir to take up the questions and discuss from the area of geography, ecology and environment.
Hello and welcome to Unacademy. Now let us take a look at the questions which have been asked for the portion of geography as well as environment ecology, and let us try to understand the pattern and what the correct answer will be. So without further ado, let us take a look at the first question. Now that is a kind of an easier question based upon the places in news. So which of the following is not an African country? Now here, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt and Lebanon. Now here Lebanon had been in news. Now Lebanon is situated in region of Asia. So that is the only one which is not situated in the region of Africa. So here the correct answer is going to be D, that is Lebanon. So again, a very easy question. Then consider the following. How many of the above Indian states or UTs do not share a border with Pakistan? That is, they don't have an international border which they share with Pakistan. Now here, if you take a look at all the various different regions which are mentioned, if you analyze them one by one, Gujarat, does share a long border with Pakistan, and it has got the Sir Creek area, which is in fact disputed as well. Then Rajasthan has got a very long border with Pakistan, and so has Punjab. Union Territory of Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, both of them, they share a long boundary with Pakistan. It is Haryana, which is landlocked and also does not have any international border associated there. So that is where do not share a border with Pakistan. The correct answer in this is going to be A, that is only one. Okay. Now, then consider the following cyclones. Arrange the above cyclones in the chronological order of their occurrences. So these are the various different cyclones. Now, how you could have solved this answer? So one of the key areas was basically knowing which is the cyclone which has been in news. So cyclone Dana was the one which recently made a landfall in the region of Odisha. We have covered that as well. So that is the cyclone which has occurred recently. So that is one of the contexts that you could have gained. Now, if you take a look at the other cyclones which are listed, Felin is a cyclone which actually made the landfall across the eastern coast of India way back in 2013 itself. So that is the cyclone which has occurred first. So 2 has occurred first. Then after that, you had Phony. Now, Cyclone Phony made landfall in 2019. So that is where you have Phony. And then you have Ampan. Ampan made landfall in 2020. Right? So, in fact, out of these, you will find that 3 of the names of the cyclones are from the previous list of the naming of the cyclones. So that also gives you a clue about them occurring prior to 2020. Having said that, this kind of a chronological aspect generally is easily discernible when it comes to the prelims examination. So 2314 C is going to be the correct answer in this case. Now, all of them have had different landfall, not all of them across a similar region of eastern coast, shaping from West Bengal to Odisha. There have been impacts which have been varying. Now consider the following pairs, ocean current and the water body where they are experienced, and which of them are correctly matched. So here, Canary current. Now Canary current is a cold water current in the eastern part of the Atlantic Ocean, near the Canary Islands of the coast of Africa. So this is incorrectly matched. Then Falkland current. Now Falkland current occurs in the southwestern part of Atlantic Ocean near the Falkland Islands, and that is where the west wind drift actually turns leftward and moves north, and it is again a cold current. So Arabian Sea is incorrect. Gulf Stream, one of the strongest warm water currents, ocean currents, carries humongous amount of water along the movement. Now, this is something which forms many of the cold core, warm core rings as it moves towards the region of western Atlantic Ocean, right? Near the coastline of North America is where you will find the presence of Gulf Stream. So it is not in Pacific. So that is also incorrect. Then Irmingar current. Now, Irmingar current is the one which moves through the region of the northern Atlantic. It is here that basically after encountering the Weill-Thomson Ridge, the mid-oceanic ridge in the northern Atlantic, the North Atlantic drift actually ends up trifurcating, and thereby it moves as Renel, Irmingar, and the Norwegian current as well. So this is basically the correct matching which has been done. So which of them are not correctly matched? So 1, 2, and 3, they are not correctly matched in this particular case. Now, consider the following cities. How many of the above cities are located on the river Danube, the second longest river of Europe? Now, Paris, Madrid, Berlin, and Rome. In fact, none of them have river Danube moving through. Danube moves through the region around Vienna and then moves eastwards into Black Sea. So all of these, they have different internal river systems which drain through them. Seine is the famous river which drains through Paris. So like that, you have different rivers which move through. So here, Tiber moves through the region of Rome. So the answer here is going to be none. None of these cities are on the banks of river Danube. Then moving on to the next question, it is a kind of a paragraph and a statement-based question. It is about the phenomena of the local wind, and that phenomena is being described, and you have to pick out which is the correct phenomena being described here. So, this phenomena is a strong, hot and dry wind that blows during summer, originating from the west and impacting the regions of North India and Pakistan. So, as soon as you read up till this much, so here you can automatically end up eliminating, for example, Kal Baisakhi. Kal Baisakhi is a pre-monsoon shower which occurs in the region of West Bengal as well as in Assam, where it is known as the Bardoli Sira rains, right? So that is counted out. Then Mistral. Mistral again is a cold local wind which moves through the region of Europe, does not impact India or Pakistan at all. So these two are automatically eliminated. In fact, nor'wester also is not a very common phenomena over here. So Lu is the correct answer. But if you take a look at the remainder portion of the statement as well, especially in the western Indo-Gangetic plains, it is most intense in May and June, blowing in the afternoons and sometimes into the night, leading to an increase in temperature. It is associated with the ITCZ because the ITCZ creates that low pressure zone, which aids the movement of the winds. So the winds, the movement of it starts from the Sistan Balochistan area in the region of Pakistan and then is attracted by the low pressure over the Indian subcontinent, and it starts moving from west to east. As these local winds then cross over the Thar Desert, that is where the temperature also increases, but at the same time, the winds become much more drier at the same time. So that is the phenomena of Lu, which creates a lot of heat waves, as well as the health problems associated are quite significant. So the correct answer in this case is going to be B, Lu. Now, consider the following information. It is about the mountain pass and which mountain pass provides connectivity for which particular area. So, Zojila. Zojila connects Lahaul district in Himachal Pradesh to Leh district in Ladakh along the Leh-Manali highway. That is incorrect. Zojila in fact provides connectivity from the region of Kashmir to the region of Leh and Ladakh. So that is where it is situated in the northern part of the country, and it does not provide connectivity with Himachal Pradesh. So this is incorrectly matched. Then Baralachala. In fact, Baralacha Pass is the one which provides connectivity between the region of Himachal Pradesh to the region of Ladakh through the Manali-Leh highway. So that is Baralachala, in fact, is the one which connects Lahaul district in Himachal Pradesh to the Leh district across Ladakh. So this is also incorrectly matched because it does not connect Kashmir to Ladakh. Shipkila, situated in Himachal. Shipkila is the pass through which river Satluj enters into India. It connects Kinnaur district in Himachal Pradesh to the Tibetan Autonomous Region in China. So that is the Shipkila Pass, which has aided people-to-people contact in the region for a very long period of time, along with the movement of the river system as well. So it is quite important. So this is correctly matched. Then Jelepla, it links India to Lhasa in the eastern part of Sikkim. So this also oftentimes in news owing to the trade points and also owing to the oftentimes the tension which grows between India and China. So this is also correctly matched. So how many of them are correctly matched? This is where you have to be careful whether correctly or incorrectly that is asked. So here the correct answer is going to be B, that is 2 of them are correctly matched. Then consider the following statements about the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Now, Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats, they end up receiving different amount of rainfall owing to the monsoonal conditions. Both of them have their confluence in the region of the Nilgiris. So, because they are so very important for rainfall and the amount of rainfall received in southern part of India, so that is the perspective we have to take along with us when we approach the question. The Western Ghats receive heavy rainfall on their leeward side due to the southwest monsoon. Under normal conditions, leeward side of the mountain will never receive heavy rainfall. Whatever the wind is, wherever the wind is, always the windward side will receive rainfall. So the first statement is incorrect. The Eastern Ghats receive substantial rainfall due to their alignment with the monsoon winds from the Bay of Bengal. Now here, if you take a look at it, now these eastern Ghats, do they receive substantial amount of rainfall due to the alignment? No. So basically, you will observe that some amount of rainfall is caused, but most of the winds, they move parallel. And that is where it is incorrect. The western and eastern Ghats meet across the Annamalai hills. They don't meet across Annamalai, they meet across the region of the Nilgiris. So which of the statements given above is correct? The answer is D, that is none of the above. All the three are incorrect in this. Now, consider the following statements regarding semi-evergreen forests in India. Now, semi-evergreen forests are found where? In the region of Western Ghats, in the region of the coastal areas, in certain cases around West Bengal, in the region of Andaman Nicobar. That is where, and also in northeastern stretches, you will find semi-evergreen. Semi-evergreen forests require the amount of rainfall ranging from around 190 to 220 centimeter. It will have a mixture of trees, some of them of the varieties of evergreen, some of them of the variety of moist deciduous. So it is a kind of a transitionary forest between evergreen and moist deciduous. So here these forests are primarily found in regions with annual rainfall below 150 centimeter. Incorrect. 190 to 220 centimeter. These forests consist of a mix of evergreen and moist deciduous trees. This is correct. So which of these are correct? So the answer is going to be B. That is going to be 2 only. Okay. Now we take a look at the questions which have been asked from the portion of environment. Now, which of the following statements correctly differentiates parasitism from predation? Now, when we talk about parasitism and predation, let us take a look at the statements and which is the most adequate and the apt one. So in parasitism, the parasite generally benefits without killing the host, generally, right? While in predation, the predator kills to feed on the prey. In parasitism, the strong feed on the weak, while in predation, the weak feed on the strong. This is incorrect because predators are stronger. Both parasitism and predation involve the death of one organism, not necessary. You have many parasites where the hosts are not killed as well, right? They continue to survive. So this is also incorrect. In parasitism, both organisms benefit. That is incorrect. It is mutualism. So the correct answer, most apt answer is going to be A. Now, consider the following statements regarding biological oxygen demand. What is biological oxygen demand? It basically is the amount of oxygen required by the decomposing bacterium in order to carry out the complete disintegration and decomposition of all the organic matter which is present in the water body. Right, particularly in the lake ecosystem, wetland ecosystems, etc. So that BOD gives you an idea about the amount of organic pollutants which are there. So lower the BOD, cleaner the water. Higher the BOD, dirtier the water. Why? Because more oxygen demand means more amount of oxygen is required for decomposition, means the amount of material which are to be decomposed are high. So that is why BOD should be lower to have a cleaner water. Now, it is the amount of oxygen required by bacteria to decompose organic matter in the specific volume of water. This is correct. Now, clean water typically has a BOD value of 17 parts per million or higher. Now here, it is okay if you don't know the data pointer about what is the requirement of BOD for clean water. But as I told you, BOD should always be lower. COD should always be lower in clean water. Here the term higher, that in itself is a tell that it is incorrect. So here, which of the statements are correct? The answer is A, that is 1 only. Now the term Avicennia marina, sometimes mentioned in the news, is what? Medicinal herb used in traditional Indian medicine? No. Salt-tolerant mangrove species. So that is a mangrove species. Generally, you have the mangroves. They are of different types. The intertidal areas, the beach forest, as well as the inland areas. So this is one of those kind of mangrove trees, which you will find to be present in the intertidal zone. That is why here, this particular species of the Avicennia marina will have the salt secreting gland also, adventitious roots also. So that is absolutely salt tolerant. So the B is the correct answer. Consider the following levels of ecological organization. Now, ecological organization in terms of the individual population, but then ecosystem, biome, like that. So you have population, biome, organism, and community. So at the first level, you will have the organism, right? Now, group of organisms, they end up making a population. Then groups of population, they establish the community of species. And many community of the species taken together across the larger area, they form a biome. Many of the biomes taken together, then they will form biosphere. So that is the proper structure, ecological organization. So the correct answer here is 3, 1, 4, and 2. Now, consider the following statements regarding the pyramid of numbers. Now, when we say pyramid of numbers, it represents the absolute number of individual organisms at each of the trophic level in any particular ecosystem, in any particular food chain. So it is always upright in all the ecosystems. So here, this is an absolute terminology. Ecological pyramid of numbers is not always upright. When we consider the parasitism ecosystem or the ecosystem of parasites, so there, for example, a species can end up, one organism, let's suppose a bird, let's suppose any particular animal. Now they can end up supporting many different small insects like lice, bugs, etc., beetles. Now each of these insects themselves can end up supporting many number of parasites. So that in itself is an inverted pyramid, right? So inverted pyramid structures do exist in pyramid of numbers. There is only one ecological pyramid which is always upright. Which is that? It is the pyramid of energy. So here the first statement is incorrect. It is a graphic representation of the total number of individuals of different species. So this is correct. Absolute number are represented. 3 types of ecological pyramids: pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, where the total dry weight is considered, and the third is the pyramid of energy, about the energy transfer. So which of them are correct? The answer is B, 2 only. Then consider the following pairs where you have the wildlife habitat of forest and located in which state. Now here, Hasdev Arant forest. Now when we say Hasdev, so those of you who don't know the exact location of this, so basically you can have an association with regards to Hasdev, which is a left bank tributary of river Mahanadi. So this Hasdev Arant forest is situated in the region of northern part of Chhattisgarh. So this is correct. Then RA forest. Now RA forest was in news significantly owing to the metro construction in the region of Mumbai metropolitan area. So that is situated in Maharashtra. This is also correctly matched. Then bunny grasslands. Now bunny grasslands are basically tropical grasslands situated in the western state of Gujarat, closer to the Gir forest. So that is again incorrectly matched. Now Matewara forest is situated in Punjab, so this is again correctly matched. So how many of them are correctly matched? The correct answer is going to be C, that is 3 pairs are correctly matched. So that basically brings us to the end of the questions from geography as well as environment. The questions were deliberately kept simple so that you could attempt more. Now I hand it over to Chetan sir to have the discussion for the portion of IA.
Hello everyone, a very good afternoon and welcome to the paper analysis of Unacademy Civil Services Championship test. I hope all of you have attempted the test. You stand a chance to win attractive scholarships to our IAS course along with attractive rewards including watching a cricket match in Australia which under the ongoing Border Gavaskar Trophy. So if you're interested, do click on the link below. And now let's look at the last part of the paper analysis. let's look at the questions that had been asked from international relations. Question number 1. In the recent conflict, Israel launched an attack on which organization operating in Gaza? A very simple, straightforward question. Last year on October 7th, this extremist organization carried out a major attack against Israel, which pushed Israel into the war in Gaza. Obviously, the right answer is option C, Hamas. Hamas, as you all know, is designated as a terrorist organization by some countries, such as United States, of course, Israel, and some of its allies. But many of the countries look at Hamas as a liberation movement, and they don't look at Hamas as a terrorist outfit. So given that Hamas has been in the news over the last 1.5 years, this question was picked up. The right answer is option C. Next, question number 6. In the recently concluded 2024 US presidential elections, Donald Trump would be serving as the Dash president of the United States representing the Dash party. Essentially, a very factual question. You should essentially know what is the essential ranking of Donald Trump and from which party does he belong to. The right answer would be option B. He would be the 47th US president, and of course he is from the Republican Party. Again, nothing much to discuss. Very simple, straightforward, factual question. Coming to question number 42. Consider the following statements regarding India-US agreement to strengthen supply chains for critical minerals. 3 statements were given. The agreement aims to enhance collaboration in the exploration, extraction, and recycling of critical minerals. This statement is absolutely correct. India-US recently signed the agreement on strengthening supply chain for critical minerals, which will play a crucial role in the future economy as we transition to clean renewable energy. Critical minerals like lithium, nickel, cobalt, copper, and even rare earth elements will play a crucial role in the future economy. So India-US are working together to strengthen those supply chains. And the second statement here says critical mineral mission proposed by the government of India in the union budget focuses solely on lithium production. In this year's union budget, Finance Minister announced the critical mineral mission, but however, it doesn't focus only on lithium. That's why second statement is incorrect. It focuses on all critical minerals, securing the supplies of lithium, nickel, cobalt, rare earth minerals, etc. It's not restricted only to lithium supply chain. So second statement is wrong. The third statement, however, is correct. The agreement seeks to engage mineral-rich countries in Africa and South America to enhance the global supply chains. So under this partnership, India-US are planning to work together to leverage their ties in Africa and in South America to work with countries such as Argentina or Democratic Republic of Congo or Bolivia, which have enough resources of critical minerals. So 1 and 3 are correct. The right answer would be option D. Let's look at the next question, question number 43. Consider the following statements regarding the recent Israeli attack on a UN peacekeeping facility in Lebanon. The IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, targeted a UNIFIL facility in Ramaya, southern Lebanon. This statement is definitely correct. Along the borders of Israel and Lebanon, there is a UN peacekeeping force which is deployed, known as UNIFIL. It was deployed here mainly to bring stability into the border area where Israel had invaded into Lebanon in the 1980s and ensure the withdrawal of Israeli troops and maintain the ceasefire between Israeli forces and the extremist forces such as Hezbollah, which were fighting Israel in this region. So this UN facility came under attack by Israeli Defense Forces at a place called Ramaya in southern Lebanon. So statement 1 is correct. The blue line is the UN established demarcation between Israel and Palestine. This statement is wrong because this border between Israel and Lebanon, right, has been a point of a source of conflict for many decades. So over here, the UN has drawn a blue line, which is maintained by the UNIFIL forces as part of the UN peacekeeping mission. So the blue line, which is part of this peacekeeping mission, is along the Israel-Lebanon border, along southern Lebanon. It's not with Israel and Palestine. So second statement can be ruled out. Third statement says UNIFIL was established to ensure Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon and to restore international peace and security. This statement is definitely correct. That is the mandate of the UNIFIL forces. In fact, even India is a contributor of troops. Around 900 plus Indian troops are part of the UNIFIL mission. So recently, when Israel stepped up its attack against Hezbollah in Lebanon, it carried out a strike on the UN peacekeeping facility as well. And this brought a lot of criticism against Israel. Even India was concerned about the safety of its troops who are deployed as part of the peacekeeping mission. So that's why this question has been asked. So what's the right answer? Option D, 1 and 3 only. Coming to question number 44, consider the following countries: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Myanmar, Uzbekistan. How many of the above are members of SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization? See, the SCO currently has 10 members in total. It was initially started as the Shanghai 5, which included Russia, China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and even Tajikistan. This grouping primarily focused on Central Asia, Eurasia region, and later it was transformed into the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and Uzbekistan also joined the group. In 2017, India, Pakistan were also admitted. India, Pakistan joined the SCO at the Astana Summit in 2017, and there were 8 members in this group. Recently, 2 more countries have been added, Iran and Belarus. They were also observers to SCO, but now they have joined as full-time members. So there are a total of 10 members. So looking at the given options, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan are definitely members of SCO, but Myanmar is not a member. You can eliminate 3. So the correct answer would be option C. Only 3 of the given countries are members of SCO. Now coming to the last part of this question paper, we had few questions from general knowledge, from miscellaneous topics, because UPSC tends to ask some questions related to books or movies, awards, and even some sporting events. This question was about which Indian film has been nominated for Best Foreign Film category at the Oscars in 2025. Obviously, the answer is option C, Lapata Ladies. Coming to the last question for today, the first ever international cricket match in history was played between. This is slightly a tricky question. Many of you would assume it would involve England, Australia, but the correct answer is option B. The first ever cricket match was between United States and Canada. Both were former British colonies, and generally amongst the Commonwealth countries and in former British colonies, cricket has been a popular sport. So in the 1800s in New York, the first ever international cricket match was played between United States and Canada. So on this note, I bring this discussion to an end. I hope you guys have attempted these questions. The questions were deliberately kept simple and easy so that all of you can attempt and win these exciting rewards. So do let me know in the comments what exactly you have won as part of the scholarship test. And we will see you in the next session. Till then, take care. Have a good day.